Looks like 5 panelists. I'm counting myself. I almost said 6. So we have Tim Castillo, Melanie Bebe, John Rajoy, Pragya Garg, and Gauri Joshi. So thank you again so much for joining us. For introductions, I was hoping that maybe each of you could just start by introducing yourselves, telling the students which program you graduated from, bachelor's or master's, approximately, if you're comfortable sharing this information, how long you've been in industry, where you are currently, and then maybe one fun thing you've been doing to keep busy and sane during shelter in place. How about we'll start with you, Tim?
Sure. Okay. Hi, I'm Tim. Let's see, graduated from the BS program 2016-ish or so. So I've been in industry for 3 or 4-ish years. Let's see. What I've been doing to keep myself involved and not going crazy right now is I've been trying to focus a lot on my physical health. I've also been throwing myself at work. I've been trying to learn how to do handstands and like some gymnastic stuff, which is always fun. Lots of time and practice involved with that. And was there anything else you asked?
I said where you currently are, but I meant I should have specified currently in terms of company, like what company you're working at.
Yeah, I'm working as a software engineer at Roche, which for a lot of people who don't know, is Genentech's parent company.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. How about, I'm just gonna go in the order of my panel. How about John, if you would go next?
Sure. I'm John Rajoy. Now blank on the questions. I graduated with a bachelor's from USF in 1996, which is maybe before when some of you were born. And now I am a senior staff software engineer, which just means I'm ancient, at Credit Karma. So if you want to get a free credit score, you can find us. And also I'm an adjunct professor at USF where I teach career prep. I highly recommend taking my class. If nothing, it's entertaining. What else? How do I keep sane? Well, I'm barely keeping it together, but one of the things I like is this tool from Snap, which lets me change my video in real time. So it's basically the Snapchat filters. This one will freak people out, turns me into a baby. So I'm not going to keep this one on the whole time, but this is how I keep sane during meetings.
Thank you. How about Pragya? How about you go next?
Hi guys, my name is Pragya. I recently graduated from Masters in Science program from USF, and I've been working for almost 10 months now at a company called Cheerio. So for all those who don't know, it's a company that provides communication APIs to various other startups, personal projects, and stuff like that. And during this shelter in place, I have started painting. So I usually didn't used to get so much time, but it's one thing good that quarantine is doing me is like I've started painting. I might show you one actually. I have it right here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, thanks. So yes, so that's what keeping me sane.
Fantastic, thank you. How about Gauri? You go next.
Yeah, hi, I'm Gauri, and I graduated in Masters in Computer Science, I think in 2018. I kind of forgot the year, but yeah, Melody is here,
right.
so
Yeah.
she was,
That's right.
So we graduated together actually, and currently I work at eBay as a backend software engineer. I'm sure everyone knows about eBay, and I'm currently working I work in a transaction risk assessment team. So whatever transactions happens at eBay, we are responsible for doing the risk assessment part for it. And what's keeping me sane is I'm making a lot of video calls and talking to so many people, so many friends, relatives, cousins. So yeah, that's something cool. I think I'm feeling really good after doing that. So yeah.
Thank you. And Melanie, how about you?
Hi, I'm Melanie, and I graduated with Gauri in 2018 from the MSCS program. So I've been in industry for about 2 years now. I actually just started a new job at a startup called Stride Health. They do sort of mileage tracking and provide health benefits or health insurance benefits for people who work for themselves. So like Uber drivers or, people, creators on Etsy, stuff like that. And so, yeah, I've just started with them about 2 weeks ago. So I'm super new to the company, but yeah, I'm a back-end software engineer for them. So what I've been doing to keep sane is gardening. You can kind of see my plants behind me, but yeah, just trying to take advantage of the patio that I have, so to get sun. That's how I've been keeping sane.
Fantastic. Something I've been doing is I've been baking a lot of bread lately, which has been fun, but I'm really nervous for what I'm calling the COVID-15, which is that I'm going to, because I'm moving around so much less now, that I'm probably gonna come out the other side a little bit heavier. So thank you so much, everyone, for introducing yourselves. I did ask students for questions prior to this, so that way we could sort of have a sense of what kind of things people were curious about. And my hope is that at the end we can open that up to a Q&A, but I wanted to go through some of these questions because I thought they were pretty good. And I saw a lot of overlap between what students submitted. So I'm gonna start with kind of like the USF experience. Could you share with the students what were some of the most important things you felt that you learned at USF? So like, it could be specifically from the classroom and classes. It could be just different experiences you had. And then sort of the second part to that question, were there any advantage or opportunities you wish you would have taken advantage of? And you can feel free to answer both or just one. But how about, let's go in reverse order. Melanie, would you mind talking about like what was the most important thing you felt based on your industry experience that you got out of USF?
Yeah. So far, I think it's been a combination of being able to communicate a lot of the technical work that we do. So while the technical skills have been super important, I think being able to communicate it to different types of stakeholders has been really important. I think I was able to practice that from the tutoring center. That was something that I participated in throughout my time in the CS program. And so I think that was one of the most important things that I learned. One thing that I wish I had taken more advantage of was attending more of the events. Sometimes, we get super bogged down with all the assignments and all that, and there's a lot of projects to work on, but like participating in the hackathons and, a lot of the events that the CS department holds, I think would have been really beneficial as well.
Awesome, thank you. How about Gary?
Yeah, I think for me, what I took from USF is, I think whatever professors taught me, basically, specifically, especially the algorithms and the principles of, software development, I still refer to those notes. And it may sound really weird, but I still go and refer those notes and, learn from those notes. So I think for me, those notes are like really treasure for me. So that's one thing. And even going for other interviews, I still refer those notes. So that's something cool. And I'm really glad to have those notes with me. So that's one thing. And what would I have done differently is, I think when I was studying, I think I had I had a lot of time in my hand. So I think I could have utilized a lot of time to learn new skills or something like that. So I regret that part, but yeah, apart from that, I think it's cool.
Cool. How about, I'm gonna jump around to a bachelor's alum. How about Tim? What for you?
Let's see. I would say I'm going to resonate a lot of what Melanie said about being able to explain technical aspects. As one of the most important things I learned was like how to explain code. It's super massively understated. Like such as like at work right now, a project we're working on is using patterns and frameworks that I typically only have experience in right now in comparison to the rest of my team. Therefore, I spend a lot of my time right now like writing boilerplate and stubs, handing it over to someone else, helping them ramp up and explain what's happening to them and helping them resolve their issues while understanding it, which isn't something that I'd be able to do if I didn't have a strong understanding of how to explain things, how to get into the mindset of someone else and trying to explain code to them, and not just from your lens, but from the lens of another person too. So having that's super important. And let's see, opportunities I wish I took advantage of. I wish I did research. Unfortunately, I thought to myself, I'm never going to grad school. I'm never going to have to do stuff like doing research or like having a strong GPA, as like that won't matter. Unfortunately, I was only half right. Doing research and having a strong GPA didn't matter for me to get a job, but it turns out I do want to go to grad school. So now I'm spending a bunch of time trying to make up for it. So basically my lesson is like, don't be me. Like once you're out of school, it gets close to impossibly hard to build up that repertoire and that application for if you do want to go to grad school. So even if right now you feel like you don't want to, like keep it open as a possibility, keep it open as a door, and follow through with your opportunities and really make the most out of them. Talk to your professors. I've literally had professors like offer me to do research with them while I was like walking down the halls to the bathroom or something. But I didn't take advantage of it because I prioritized other things when I shouldn't have. So yeah, do research if it's available to you.
Awesome. How about you, John?
Yeah, so this is going to be maybe a slightly different answer. The best thing that I got out of my USF experience was my network of friends and colleagues. So I would say 80% of the jobs and business, when I had my own business, that I got after school was through the alumni network, just my network of professors and friends and people I had class with, acquaintances. The stronger your social network is, the more likely it is that you're going to know somebody at your dream job and that you can get in. So that's the number one thing, is the relationships were super strong. Number two thing that I really that I got from my USF experience was I realized the power of communication skills. As Tim mentioned, I'm like an software architect now, and I spend 90% of my day describing complex problems to people who don't have time to go deep. And I learned the power of that at USF when there were, many of us are introverts and they were quiet, maybe on average. And here I am, I'm also an introvert, but I was an actor as well. So I learned how to project. And I think the only thing that separated me from the people in my class was the professors could hear me and that I wasn't afraid to ask a dumb question. So those are the two things I learned. And the one thing that I wish I had taken more advantage of is I really wish that I had had an internship. So I went straight from, no internships. I had summer jobs, packing groceries. And then my first job was at Apple. So I went right to Apple from bachelor's. And I really had no idea what I was doing. Still kind of don't.
Thanks. Okay, and Pragya, how about you?
I mean, I agree with Tim on the part that we don't realize the value of communicating our parts to our colleagues. And like, it's been a very, like, I have spent really small time in industry, like just 10 months, but I have realized that this part is really important. And yes, this is very overrated, like explaining your code to your professor in some of the classes. We think that we just like, sometimes we don't even like it, but we just don't realize that it makes us really strong when we actually come to industry. Like every smallest aspect you have to convey. There's no better way of sharing information than like just communicating. So that is one thing. And I really used to like the practical assignments that I was given. I feel like in some of the classes especially, the projects were like small industry level assignments. So they make, today when I work on, like, how do I say this? Maybe it was an easy transition from a graduate life to transitioning into an industrial life. But yeah, the practical experience was really helpful. Also, something that I could have done more, I think I used to restrict myself and I didn't sign up for harder things that today I feel like I should have done more. As Melanie said, hackathons and like even personal projects, like some group project, some exciting group project. I feel like we don't realize those things that they're so important, but when we have to actually present ourselves to our resume, these small projects actually do have a lot of impact, I feel.
Great, thank you. So what I love about that was one of the sort of third parts of that question that I hadn't asked yet was how important is communication skills? So I'm glad that that was addressed, so I don't have to ask that question. So I'm going to move on to the job search, since I know that this is probably top of mind for most of our students, whether it's searching for an internship or a permanent position for those who are graduating. So I'm going to ask each of you, what was your job search like, and how long did it take you to find that first position? And how about we'll start with you, Tim?
Let's see. I probably shouldn't be the first person to start this because I have a horrible example as how I got my first job. But we'll see where it goes, and then we'll see much more realistic things later. So I got my first job by replying to an email from Rosa Maria. She sent out like a massive email out to everyone about some generic newsletter about like, oh, here's a data science bootcamp hosted by IBM. And I was like, sure, okay, let me just sign up for it. I'm interested in it. It's only 2 days or whatever. Turns out I ended up applying to her full-time role and ended up getting it. Next thing I know, I'm getting flown out to Atlanta for a final round interview. And so basically, like, if there's anything to pull away from that, like pure, like very specific situation of luck, it's that to take advantage of the opportunities as they're available to you. It can be anything as large as someone literally standing up to you and offering you, hey, do you want to interview at my company? Or hey, do you want to network sometime? To something as small as replying to an email, because you really don't know and understand how much of an impact something small such as that can have in your career. And that replying to a single email kickstarted my entire career. And so, yeah, I guess that's my lesson in terms of how do you find your first job? Take advantage of your opportunities.
I personally think it's a great example because it shows that you responded to the many emails. And I know that our students get many emails. So just for those of you listening, hopefully that you at least take a quick look at the emails that we send because they're not totally random. How about Pragya? Maybe you can go next.
Yes. So honestly, job search was really exhausting and intimidating for me. The reason for that was unfortunately, I did not get any internship. And so okay, talking about start of the semester 3, I was selected for the Grasshopper conference. And I feel that was really important for me because it was held in September. So, and I had like 3-4 interviews lined up there. So I started my preparation just when semester 3 starts. And I still remember people coming to me and like, you were doing it like, it's not the right time. You should start it after the semester. But I started it just because I had some interviews to do at Grasshopper conference. But going there, it was really shocking. Like I was just seeing 20,000 people in that conference, and like 10,000 of them were just searching for job, and I can say like 95% of them were girls. So I just had a reality check that, dude, 10,000 people, 10,000 girls are searching for job. And we know what is the percentage of women in CS technical field. So I think I really pushed myself in 3rd semester. So which actually resulted in, so I got my first job in December, late December. And then I got this offer from Tulio in Feb. So I felt that starting early and pushing myself really hard early helped me securing a better position. I actually spent my 4th semester really like just enjoying and like, just going for some interviews which I really want to do or like stuff like that. But it was not a very pressurizing final semester for me. So yes, I feel like it wasn't a fun experience, but it was really valuable one.
Great. How about John? Let's go with you next, if you don't mind.
Okay, so keep in mind this is a long time ago, but 2 things I remember from my job search. Now, I said I wish I had had an internship. I didn't. But what I did do in university is I started consulting. Now, really, I started doing projects because I needed the money. One I did because someone approached USF and needed some help to do database work. And then another one was someone getting an MBA had a crazy idea for a website. So I just took on those projects. I did them with various degrees of success. So that meant that my resume already had 2 line items on it that I did work for people in industry. And then after that, honestly, it was, I don't remember applying to anywhere except Apple. I'm a little absent-minded, and I got it. But the reason I got it ties back to what I said before. I was, completely just scatterbrained, had not applied anywhere. My friend was going, my, fellow USF classmate who also was working at Credit Karma until recently, he was going to interview at Apple. And I said, hey, can you bring my resume with you? And so he did. And he gave my resume to the interviewer, who gave it to the hiring manager. And then they brought me in, and then they thought about it, and then they hired me. And this makes a point that I say in my class all the time. The most important thing to have on your resume is someone's fingerprints. Someone took my resume and gave it to someone at Apple, and that got me my first job and started my career. It's really random, and I know maybe it doesn't match up. Maybe I'm just the luckiest person in the world. But I really do believe that because I had a couple of projects that were like real and not an academic exercise, although that's still valuable, that and a little bit of charm got me that first job. But it was totally lucky.
I think it's great because it actually shows that the process is not going to be the same for everyone, and that there's not this linear path to industry. So I think it's actually good to hear these various pathways. So how about we'll go next with Melanie, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So it's funny, I was just thinking about it from what Tim mentioned earlier about making sure, different doors are open, right? I kind of took the opposite path of what he described, where throughout my time at USF, I didn't do any internships at all. I was considering doing a PhD next. And so I took on research opportunities within the university. So essentially, I just thought about, okay, what are some areas that I'm interested? What professors work on this or work on something similar to this? And some of the professors that I ended up reaching out to actually weren't in the computer science department, but were actually part of the math department or the biology department for bioinformatics and all that. So just reaching out within your network of people to understand what's some project that I can work on in the time being to learn the skills that I'm interested in. So that's kind of what I spent my summers doing throughout my time at USF. And so that actually helped me a lot, because it showed me that I didn't want to do a PhD and I didn't want to go into research. And so I went straight for just, at the sort of in my last couple semesters, trying to find, a job within industry. And luckily from Grace Hopper, I actually had made a connection there with Kaiser Permanente. And I actually didn't even reach out to them right after the conference. It was like a few months later, I said, hey, is there anything that might be available or something? And then I was able to get an opportunity in that way. But it was more so just kind of maintaining that network and just, reaching out and saying, I'm interested in this. Do you have anything or know of anybody that I might be able to talk to who has an open opportunity? So that's kind of what got me my first job.
Great, thank you. And Gowri, I don't believe you've gone yet. So how about you?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think for me, as John said, it's good to hear about everyone's journey, and I can say it's not exactly same as everyone else. So it's kind of fun to learn about all of their journeys. But for me, I think as John mentioned, landing an internship is really great way to get there. So for me, I got an internship. That was real struggle getting an internship, but I landed an internship at Visa, and I graduated in May 2018. And during my internship, after my internship, in around September 2017, like 10 months before I graduated, I got an offer, full-time offer from Visa. So I landed that offer. And after that, another thing was Professor Olga, she sent some email regarding the Grace Offer conference. So I was like, I wasn't even looking at the emails at that time because I had one job. And then she was like, why don't you want to go for a conference? You will learn a lot of things from there. And I was like, okay, sure, let me try. And I just, I just enrolled for the conference. I wasn't serious about it. And I don't know how it worked out, but I got a job in Grace Hopper conference. On same day, they interviewed me for like, I had like 4 or 5 rounds of interviews at the Grace Hopper for eBay. And on the same day, I got an offer from eBay too. So for me, getting a full-time was much easier. And I had 2 offers before I graduated. So for me, it was, I felt really lucky in that way, but for getting an internship was a little bit struggle for me. So, but I think key thing is just look out for emails and take every opportunity you can. And the funny part is, though I did internship at Visa, I joined eBay, and I'm really happy there. So you never know what will be the best for you and what will you choose. So just be open for everything.
Awesome. Yeah, Grace Hopper and the Tapia conferences definitely have some wonderful results. So for students who are interested in attending, they're great conferences, and hopefully they'll be able to happen this fall. So next question is, based on the conversations that you all are having at your respective companies and what you're currently seeing in the job market, what advice do you have for students that are looking for internships and full-time jobs, those who are getting ready to graduate, those who are looking for summer opportunities before they come back in the fall? So I know that's on top of mind for pretty much everyone. So how about Pragya? Let's start with you.
Yeah, right now we all know that it is an unfortunate situation because yes, a lot of companies are hiring less, but like I could give you example of my company. My company is hiring at the same pace. So it's, everything is working remotely, but it is happening. Like I have colleagues who are taking interviews like almost every other day. So yes, it could be hard, but it doesn't mean that it cannot happen. So I think having a positive mindset will really help us. And like my example, I couldn't get internship. I did try. It was all good situation outside, but I still didn't get because of like some mistakes I did and stuff like that. So for people who are looking for internships and are not able to get it, I would say that don't waste your time. Try for as many opportunities as you can. But if you don't get, you have other options, like go for summer projects, go for any group projects, personal projects, some research. There are so many things to do. And after all, I just feel that internship, if you can't get the practical experience, still if you do some research or something, you have something to put there, just to tell that like you did learn something. And I think that's the main part of any summer project. And I think same goes for the full-time opportunities as well. uh, just apply to everything that you can, and like just talk to your network, alumni. Like we can really help. And so that's another thing. So I think just apply as much as you can and have a positive mindset, and hopefully we'll be out of this soon, and like this will be good.
Awesome, thanks. How about, let's go next with John, who's also currently teaching the career prep course. I imagine that you've been having this conversation quite a bit, so we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, how many hours do we have? Okay, so first things first, I'm gonna put in the chat a list of all the companies that are hiring and who have frozen hiring. My company, Credit Karma, up until now, we were growing like mad. We have frozen, and a lot of companies have frozen hiring simply because no one really knows what tomorrow is going to bring. It's a very volatile situation in the world. Companies, investors, banks, everyone is freaked out. I suspect this is, at least my third crash that I've lived through as a developer. I suspect that we're all going to be fine. Our skills are in demand and will continue to be in demand. Our friends and neighbors who are doing other things will not be fine. So it's a good news, bad news kind of situation. I suspect it's going to be harder now for you to find jobs and internships. A lot of internships are being canceled because companies really don't know how to run those remotely. But like Pragya said, not everyone is frozen. So I think if you are more targeted in your search, if you really, really want to work for Airbnb, now is not a good time. But if you look at the list of people who are hiring, pick the ones you could tolerate, like maybe Facebook or whatever, and really try to get in there, laser beam, instead of shotgun blast, because everyone is hiring, become more of a laser beam and say, I want to go to these 3, and then look through your LinkedIn network and try to just get in front of anybody. Now, I think they're probably going to be bombarded, but that's okay. You don't need everyone to say yes. You only need one. So be a little bit more selective. And then what happens if you don't get a job or an internship? So in that case, like I did in college, just make your own internship. Make your own line item on your resume. Maybe that's you build something on your own or you take on clients. For me, being a consultant helped pay the bills, and it also kind of gave me legitimacy as a developer. So you don't have to stay idle. You can get money, but you may have to hustle a little bit.
Okay. How about Melanie? You're at a startup currently. Maybe it would be interesting to hear perspective conversations that you're hearing at your company.
Yeah, so that's the interesting part. I think with this, I was a bit worrisome since coming into this, I had to onboard remotely and everything. So a lot of the conversations, there hasn't been much about hiring. I think right now I was lucky enough to join an industry that is still somewhat okay since it's health tech related, and so it hasn't been as affected, I guess. So I haven't heard much, I'd say, from my company in particular. But the advice that I do have for the job search part, I think I just second everything that John said. Really, is just right now it is a difficult time to find one, but to just not be idle. Like if you can maybe work with a few friends or something and build something together where you kind of act as a team to build a full stack application, that in itself could be a great opportunity and something that you could put on your resume and learn a lot from. And so, yeah, I just say, keep at it, leverage your network. And yeah, honestly, just best of luck. I think this will pass in time, but I think we do have the right skills to kind of keep us afloat.
Great. How about Tim?
I definitely hands down agree with everything that everyone's been saying so far, but I also want to reinstate that, basically what Melanie said, even though that things are really harsh and things look super turbulent, don't be there idly. Don't be demoralized because of current circumstances. A lot of companies are still hiring, such as Twilio, Pragya mentioned, and my current company, Roche, and Genentech are both still hiring right now. And so we're still hosting our internship cohort, and we're still interviewing our full-time engineers right now. I think I'm actually busier more than ever actually interviewing candidates virtually. I'm actually interviewing 2 people later this afternoon. So that's anecdotal at best. It still proves that companies are still hiring out there, and that you shouldn't be too demoralized by it, and you should actually continue to put in your time and effort into applying to internships and applying to jobs. That being said, I'm going to share my secret sauce for optimizing your job search. My big tip is to work smarter and not harder. I mean, you'll still have to work hard, but you can also mitigate how much stress you feel and maximize your efficiency on it. I would say my #1 tip is to be on top of the job postings. What I like doing every morning when I do my job searches is only looking at all of the most recent jobs. And then every morning, set aside half an hour to go through all the new postings made within the past 24 hours and apply to those that you feel relevant to you. This makes things much more digestible and easier to take in because you're only looking at the new postings coming in, not all the thousands that are literally in front of you. And another big tip I like having is to search by your skill set and not by job title. Like, let's say you're primarily like a front-end engineer, you would type in something like JavaScript into LinkedIn Jobs or into Glassdoor, rather than looking for very specific job titles such as front-end engineer, because that can be interpreted as front-end engineer, full stack engineer, engineer, UI developer, software engineer, web developer, or whatever weird combination of those words. So if you're able to search by skill set, it would really help. It really slims down based to jobs that really match what you're capable of doing, rather than some nebulous job title. And yeah, those are my two really big tips I like sharing with people when it comes to the job search. Yeah, don't get too demoralized about things.
Awesome, thank you. And then Gary, I think you're the only one who I haven't asked yet so far. So how about you?
Yeah. So cool. I think for me, I know the things are a little difficult right now. It looks difficult, but as Pragya said, even my company is hiring. Actually, I had to replace my interview slot today for this webinar. So, and I have 2 interviews scheduled for the late afternoon. So we are still hiring, and there are a lot of people, they are still hiring. So yesterday I had a call from Facebook for an interview. So it's still happening, guys. And I think for me, I always thought getting a start is little difficult in USA, but once you start working, the calls keep, I mean, calls come to you and they call you, and it's like I had to tell them like I'm not currently interviewing or something like that, but that will happen to you guys as well. Just keep patience. And I think 2 things I want to share: if you don't get an internship or full-time job, just sharpen your skills, technical skills, build something really build something, or use that time to build something, and have something on your resume that will showcase your talent and skills that you have once the market opens. And I'm not sure if it's closed, like not all companies stopped hiring, so there are still companies looking for a talent. And the greatest advantage you guys have is you guys are already in Bay Area, so that's something you already have. That's something you have an advantage over other people who are graduating from other universities. So I think that's one part. And second, as Tim mentioned, look for the latest job postings. Along with that, if you find some mutual connections on LinkedIn, just try to connect with them and talk to people. Try to broaden your LinkedIn network, so that will help you to do an internal referrals for some of the postings that you might seem very interesting and you are really interested in applying. So that's 2 tips I have for you guys. And yeah, and there are a lot of companies still hiring, so I think you guys still have a chance. But if you don't get it, just sharpen your skills.
Awesome, thank you. I want to echo a couple things that people said. One is that first job is often the hardest, and then as Gowrie said, often and when you're in industry as a technical person, you might find that people start reaching out to you for job opportunities. I can say, as someone who works in education versus someone who works in tech, my husband works at a tech company, and he gets contacted all the time for jobs. And I've once on LinkedIn ever working in education had that sort of connection. So definitely, people who work in tech right now, you have skill sets that are going to continue to be in high demand. So I think even though it is challenging, it's challenging for everyone. And so the good thing is, I think that you're not alone in this challenge. Then there's lots of people, and then you have a great network. 5 people here, but we have a few thousand alums on LinkedIn. So definitely use that. I kind of want to switch up gears for questions, though, a little bit and talk about remote work. We're all experiencing it. So I'm curious or actually the students are curious, and I am too. How has your work changed now that you all have moved to a remote work style? How has the collaboration with your colleagues been? And both, not just the positives, but also what have been some of the challenges and negatives of this transition to a 100% remote work situation? How about, let's start with Melanie.
Yeah, this has been really interesting for me so far, especially because it's I've had to onboard remotely. And so it showed me the importance of being able to meet your team and everything in person, and what value that provides in sort of establishing relationships with your coworkers, your team, and all that, and understand like who's the go-to person for what. So it's been interesting because having to, like, if you're in the office, you can just tap on the shoulder of someone and be like, oh, do you know who can do this, or who can show me around for whatever tool and all that. Everything is through Slack now. So everything's through Slack and like Google Hangouts or Zoom. And so just being able to speak up in that way, that has been kind of a shift for me, because in my previous role, it was one where we weren't able to work from home much. So when I was at Kaiser Permanente, they would only allow us to work from home like once a week at most. And so it's a complete 180 of what that was for me. So, I mean, I think the good thing though is that I guess I'm able to focus a bit more sometimes, since, in the office, it could be a bit distracting at times, especially if it's, one of the offices where it's like an open floor plan. So I think that's one of the benefits that I've had, is I've been really able to like focus and onboard efficiently.
Okay, how about Tim? Let's go with you next.
Right now things are, let's see, switching to remote work, besides, how do I put this? We're adjusting really well, okay, because in general, my team has a very nice flexible schedule. I want to say half of us are working remotely from different parts of the Bay Area in general, and we typically only see them maybe like once a month or so. So our team and organization has a pretty good structure and infrastructure set up for being able to work remotely, which we appreciate the flexibility for, and we really make the most out of. In terms of what it's like actually working right now, especially working in health tech right now during the whole pandemic, is pretty crazy. Everyone's trying to put out their own offering that's relevant to COVID-19 in some shape or form. Right now, I'm balancing 3 different projects right now, 2 of which are strictly related to COVID. One of them is like writing data science models that help you predict how social distancing events impact counties and the rate of infection and such, which is all really interesting stuff, which we typically would have not had the opportunity to do if it wasn't for such a pandemic, which is crazy to think about, because, well, yeah, we really wouldn't have had this opportunity, especially because, like, well, I work in oncology specifically, and so getting into epidemiology and get into infectious diseases is a totally different domain than what we're into. So it has kept things interesting, and it's kept things exciting in terms of actually working. And so, but in terms of like work culture and such, our organization's also put in a lot of effort towards enhancing that. It's like our admins post daily pictures and like daily like infographics about how to keep yourself healthy, how to keep yourself happy, prioritizing mental health. Roche has such a huge push towards mental health. Like, we have a lot of benefits that are driven towards that. We get an email probably once a week saying, hey, if you haven't heard of this company, it's called Lyra Health. You get 25 of your sessions covered per year, and you can find a therapist that you can start seeing online. We also have free Headspace subscriptions, which is great, and a couple of other different provider-driven plans and initiatives related to mental health. So definitely, like, they're taking really good care of us and understanding and prioritizing our health physically and mentally while working remotely. And culturally, we're doing really strong in the sense that we do virtual happy hours now rather than doing them in person. It's like, we'll hop on the same Zoom call and mess around with our backgrounds, as you see by me already having mine ready of my cat. We have lunches together. Like, we'll just hop on a Zoom call together and like we'll watch each other cook, and like we'll do thematic like little like lunches where we cook different things together. And we do things to like help still foster the culture that we are still a team, that we're not just working together, we're also people that we have in each other's lives, which is something that really needs to get reinstated in these times where you don't really have the social interaction, or we don't really have, where it's difficult to find the same emotional connection as you would find on your regular basis.
Sorry about that. I forgot to unmute myself. My arrangement of panelists got skewed, so I'm forgetting who has not gone. I believe, is it Pragya, have you gone yet?
No,
How
I
about you,
can
Nick?
share.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I can share my experience. Yeah. So honestly, it takes a while to just get adjusted from like working daily in office to remotely. Although I used to work like at least 1 day a week remotely, but I feel the first week personally I was really happy because it feels you have much more freedom and flexibility. But over time I realized that one of the negative side is that maybe I have, because I have just started my career, so I feel like learning is much more better in person. So that is something that I kind of miss. But having said that, that doesn't mean that I'm not that productive. So I feel I'm trying to have a more positive mindset on that. uh, I have flexibility in my schedule. Like, a lot of people in my team, they have kids, so it's really hard with kids to you know uh, adjust to this shelter in place schedule. But like, we are doing all flexible schedules. If you can work in evening, sure, do work in evening, take mornings off. Or like, if you want to have a break, like a big break, like 2 hours break or 3 hours break in the afternoon, go for it. So companies have become like, everybody knows what is happening, so they're dealing with it really nicely. So they're not like, it's not a lot of pressure that, okay, you have more time, so you have to be like every time online or stuff like that. It's not like that. And people are saving a lot of time, commute time, so that is one benefit. And yeah, so I think that there are much more positive impacts that this pandemic is doing, in a way that people are starting to feel that meeting in a conference room is not just the only way to have a productive discussion. And they are having a lot of random Slack channels like Social Bread. So people are sharing like their bread recipes there, their baking recipes there, so stuff like that. There's a creativity channel where like anything, it feels good. I feel more connected to my colleagues because I'm able to see like their non-technical side because of it. So yeah, it has more goods, I feel, now.
Great, thank you. And John, I don't believe you have gone yet for this question.
Yeah, this is a deep topic. So I've worked, I was a consultant for 10 years. I worked from home a long time. This is not like that. This is horrific, and not every company is letting people just take their time to do things. Not every company is handling this well. And I think, like, if you're struggling with your own productivity, forgive yourself. This is a once in a lifetime global disaster. So this is not like going on a retreat. This is like, it's a big deal, and people that I know are struggling with it. I have children, and they actually absolutely hate being at home. They're all teenagers, and I hate that they're home. So it's not awesome. I've also found that a lot of my job was implicit in being in person, and I didn't know that. I would corral people in the hallway. I would get them in a conference room. And so a lot of my job is just not getting done, because now I have to figure out what part of my job was this in the physical world. And I have to replicate that with tools that are not perfect. Slack, email, Google Docs is really not going to cut it. So you need to use whatever you can to be more organized in your thought. And the last thing I'll say is that when you're working at home, there are two tricks that you really need to do, or you're going to lose your mind and just become a fluid, because you're just eating all the time, if you're like me. Number one is to use the doorway effect to your advantage. The doorway effect is the effect that happens to a human being when they walk through a door. Your brain goes, okay, that's the end of that episode and the beginning of a new one. So make sure that when you're about to start work or when you're about to leave work, you walk through a door. You leave one place and you go to another. That will help your brain separate work from video games, from whatever, from mealtime. And the other thing is to keep to some routine of exercise and waking up and changing your clothes and all that. Otherwise, you could just sit in your house like Howard Hughes and just go crazy. So those are my 2 cents.
And then Gowrie,
Yeah.
I don't think you've gone yet.
Yeah, I think I'm the
Okay.
last one. So I think for me, I'm not gonna lie, when I started working remotely, it was really chaotic for me, and I didn't know like what was happening. Because there are few things like whenever I used to have some difficulties or whenever my colleagues had some questions, we actually used to go and walk to their desk, talk to them, get feedback from them and start working on it. It was that easy, right? And when we started working remotely, everyone was on a call, so there were a lot of meetings happening. I felt I had to be available when and for every messages that happen, that comes to me on the Slack at all the time. So it was really chaotic at the start because sometimes I had to work till, it happened that I ended working till 11 or 12 in the night, and I didn't realize it at the start. And then one day I was talking to my manager. I was like, it's happening very frequently that I had to jump on a call to explain things to people, and it's consuming a lot of my time. And so then we discussed about it, and now I think it's better in a way. Like the first thing that my like the leadership there in our organization was no meetings Tuesday, so we do not have any meetings on Tuesday starting this Tuesday. So that's one thing I really liked. But now I think what John said, I agree with him. Like I had to keep my workspace different from my usual home life. So now I'm doing that, and it's much better now. So I log off at 5 sharp or 6 sharp. So I don't work pretty late hours now. So, but I think coping up with the remote work, that was a little hard at the start, but now it's better and it's organized well. And as Tim mentioned, we do have happy hours. We play online games on every other Friday. So it's good to see all teammates there, and we allow all their kids to come on the camera, play with it or something like that. It's fun to watch their kids and how they are at home, as Pragya said. So it's that side. It's also really nice. So yeah.
Great. I will say one of the interesting things about working from home is I've gotten to see a lot of our faculty's family members that I had never been able to meet before. So that has been an interesting silver lining, is that I feel like even though they're not in-person connections, we are still making connections to our
Right.
greater community in unique ways. So if anyone wants to ask questions in the Q&A, feel free, because we've actually gone through most of the submitted questions. But a quick one, which I think might be an easy one for everyone, is would you suggest a student accept an unpaid internship if the opportunity came up this summer? Also, if a student were to look for unpaid internships, are there particular areas that you would suggest that they look for? So how about, let's start with Tim.
Let's see, unpaid internships. I won't make a hard and fast statement on whether or not you should take one. I'm gonna say take it with a huge grain of salt and do your research, such as like, does it look like the company will give you a quality experience? Will you see an actual mentorship? Will you be actively coding at all times? You're gonna want a realistic split between coding and interacting with others, because that's the truly novel piece of an internship, being like a part of the company rather than just being a code monkey or someone they're just sending their information and work out to. I would say if it's unpaid or looks like they're just exploiting you for free labor, you're better off dedicating your summer towards making a large personal project or multiple medium ones, or make your own intern cohort with a group of friends and work on a team project as a whole. So yeah, definitely do your research and practice your due diligence looking into your unpaid internships and see if it fits you.
Great. How about you, Pragya?
I think I mostly agree on Tim. Like research is very important, but if you really like the quality, like the project that you'll be doing or the work, if you're really interested in that, just don't just don't I mean, just go for it. If you really like the work, go for it. But if you don't like the work and you're just doing it for the sake of doing it, I won't recommend it. I would suggest like group projects are much more better option there. I hope that makes sense.
It does. Thank you. How about John?
I really, really hate unpaid internships. I'll just be blunt. You shouldn't take them, in my opinion. Basically, what people are saying is the value of your time is zero. And this is also why I really hate take-home tests before interviews. It's disrespectful, and yeah, personally, I don't like them. I think you can recreate the unpaid internship on your own, not just by doing personal projects, but even by just taking on small projects for other people. You can look at various boards of people just saying like, hey, I have an MBA and I have an idea for an app and no idea how to do it. You can do those things without going to someone who's not willing to pay you even $1 for your time. There are lots of places out there that do pay for internships. Now that number at the moment might be lower than normal, but really think about the signal that you're sending and that they're sending when they say, cool, give us your time and we'll give you nothing in return except experience. You're paying already for your education. This should be the end of you paying for that. Once you're out of school, that should be it. Those are my 2 cents.
Great. Thank you. Melanie, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what John's saying, and part of that is because when I was an undergrad, I took on a lot of unpaid internships, and just kind of told myself like, yeah, I'm getting paid in experience, you know. But and I mean, I still do find that the experience was valuable, but it didn't always align with my interests and the skills that I wanted to move forward. Well, I thought it would in the beginning, and in the end it didn't. And so yeah, I would say if it truly follows your interests and you know you are going to be able to pick up skills that you think will be helpful for you, then yes. Otherwise I wouldn't advise it. Yeah.
Thanks. And Gary?
Yes, I think I'm gonna agree with all of them. But I personally, I think it depends. So if you really think that that internship is gonna bring some valuable, skills to you, or the things that you interest, those are there, and then go for it. I mean, why not? And as John said, if there are some people who doesn't have experience or who doesn't have anything to transfer it to you, like no guidance, nothing, and they just want you to build something, I think I'll skip that internships. But apart from that, if you're learning something, if you are working on something that interests you, and in return of money, if you're learning from them, doing how the industry works or like how things works at industry, and if you are gaining some knowledge from them, I think it should be a good idea. But I think it depends on a person, what he wants for that particular time period, and if he's getting that in return. So I think unpaid internship should also work, but I think it's personal choice. I think so.
Okay. I really appreciate all of the responses that each of you have given to each of these questions. We're now at 11:31, so I want to be respectful of your time since you are currently working from home. And I want to be respectful of our students who may need to log on to a class very soon. But I just wanted to say thank you so much. I hope that the students really find a lot of value in this information because I think you shared some really great tips and suggestions on how to move forward. I will say there were a couple of students who mentioned that they wanted to connect on LinkedIn. So I encourage those students to reach out to this panel as well as other alums through USF's LinkedIn page. You can actually go in and search USF, then look up alumni. If you look at computer science, there's several thousand of you all there, and you can begin making connections that way. I hope everyone is staying sane, it is healthy, and doing everything that they can to continue to be productive. I know that this is an incredibly challenging time for literally everyone But this is also a really great opportunity to build our skills since there is so much uncertainty. But I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. If for those of you who are in San Francisco, I hope you're able to take advantage of our beautiful weather by taking an essential health walk today. But I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much to our panelists. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.